And as we mentioned, the final cases of the Supreme Court last week presented a consistent clarity that the Constitution favors individual liberty over group rights and government overreach. Joining us now to assess the various rulings is former gubernatorial candidate and author of Unafraid, Kari Lake. Kari, really good having you on. So we had three major rulings on the last day of this court before the summer recess: affirmative action, student loan forgiveness went away, Joe Biden tried, and the Colorado web design. Affirmative action. Over the weekend, Kari, there was so much vitriol on the Sunday shows and on Twitter, on social media, people going back and forth. You know, we point to Joy Reid, who said you wouldn't have a Joy Reid if it weren't for affirmative action. Good friend of the show, Jason Whitlock, African-American, said, how dare you reduce African-Americans to only being able to succeed with the help of affirmative action? What are your thoughts? What are you hearing? What do you know? What do you want to say about it?
I agree with Jason. He's a big thinker and he understands the issue. I agree with Clarence Thomas as well. To make these kids think that the only reason they can get into a college is because of the color of their skin, it's setting us back. You don't solve racism by adding more racism. And I know that Ms. Hill put out some comments that you talked about, or we've seen over the weekend, really going after the Asian community. And it was really unfortunate to see that. I guess I now see why she's not on TV anymore. Her brand of wokeism is so radical that even Disney and ESPN said it's too radical for those woke corporations. And she's just wrong on this issue. You do not solve racism by adding another layer of racism.
Yeah. And Jemele Hill, I think maybe you're talking about Jemele Hill, who tweeted this: can't wait until she reads you gladly carried the water for white supremacy and stabbed the folks in the back whose people fought diligently for Asian American rights in America. Let me tell you something. That is one of the most alarming and one of the most racist tweets I've maybe ever seen. Jemele Hill, African American sportscaster, as you point out, from ESPN, basically saying that the only reason why Asian Americans are succeeding in America are because of the path that African Americans blazed through racism prior to them. Now, granted, this country had racism, but I don't think it's around the way all these people are making out to seem anymore. How about you?
I think that the Asian community has been the victim of all of this. There's these kids work really hard in school and they're doing everything right. They're meeting all the qualifications. They've got the high GPAs. They've got the SAT scores, and they are being denied access because of the color of their skin. And that is racism. That is the definition of racism. Where I think we need to do better, where I know we need to do better, is to create education freedom on the front end of a child's education, back K through 12, rather than these public schools, these government-run schools, trapping our children, especially children who come from vulnerable neighborhoods, trapping them in these schools, teaching them nothing, indoctrinating them, teaching them a woke ideology and worse, and not teaching them the true skills they need to get into college and to succeed, not teaching them reading, writing, arithmetic, actual skills, even including life skills and trade skills. That's where we're failing our kids. And we can blame that squarely on these government-run schools and the people they're taking their marching orders from, like Randy Weingarten with the teachers union. And I'd like to remind your viewers, although I know they already know this, they're pretty smart. The teachers union doesn't give a damn about the teachers. They're using them. And they certainly don't give a damn about the families and the children. They're in it for their own power, and they're hurting our children. And so we need to look, if we want to really see success with children of all skin colors, all backgrounds, we need to start focusing on education freedom. And that means our tax money follows the student. It doesn't go directly to the government-run school. We're seeing this take effect in many states across the country. It's happening here in Arizona. I know Iowa is pushing this and many other states. And I think we're going to see a big shift in the way we're educating our kids. All of the kids are going to be ready for college, and it won't matter what color their skin is.
You know, education and educating our children and educating our future Congress people. And the reason why I bring that up is AOC over the weekend was really having a very hard time accepting these three rulings out of the Supreme Court. Take a listen to what AOC thinks should happen when the high court in the land, the Supreme Court, doesn't rule in the way she would prefer. Listen.
if Chief Justice Roberts will not come before Congress for an investigation voluntarily, I believe that we should be considering subpoenas. We should be considering investigations. We must pass much more binding and stringent ethics guidelines where we see members of the Supreme Court potentially breaking the law, as we saw in the refusal, with Clarence Thomas to recuse himself from cases implicating his wife in January 6th. There also must be impeachment on the table.
Okay, so she's basically saying, oh, by the way, it didn't go our way, so therefore let's subpoena the Chief Justice. Let's talk about impeaching Clarence Thomas. I mean, can someone give her a lesson in the Supreme Court and what, and by the way, elections have consequences. Miss AOC, go ahead, Kari Lake, your message to her.
We're tired as Americans of dividing the country, and they all want to continue to divide us into little segments based on our skin color, where we're from, our background, our religious background. They want to divide us. I want to bring Americans together on what strengthens us. And the Democrats know they're wrong on this. The court got it right. We are not going to have racism anymore. And whether you can get into college, you don't have to worry if the way God made you is going to keep you from getting into college. But what we are going to do, despite what AOC and her band of lunatics are pushing, is we are going to start improving education from a young age with education freedom across this country. And when we improve our education with our young kiddos and stop indoctrinating them like AOC and her band of fools want to do, that's when we actually get kids who are all prepared for college. They can get to any college they want because they're ready. We owe it to our children to do that. They shouldn't just be spending a bunch of time in school and getting nothing out of it.
These leftists are all about choice, about school choice, where it actually works, where it actually will help kids be prepared for college. By the way, AOC, you can't make this stuff up, folks. Boston University today came out and recommended, they urged their law students, they were going to provide free therapy for the law students to deal with the Supreme Court rulings from a couple of days ago. And I kid you not, the fact is stranger than fiction. AOC, you know where she went to school? Boston University. Can't make it up.
Yeah, she didn't come from a poor, impoverished background.
Oh, no.
And to be honest, I'm gonna just throw this out. She doesn't have children. She's not a mom. So she doesn't have skin in the game right now. We parents want our kids to be judged on what they're capable of doing. We only become a great country when we have meritocracy. We want the very best lawyers out there. We want the very best doctors, and we want the very best airline pilots. We don't want people being chosen to cut open someone's heart or fly a plane who got there based on their skin color. This is ludicrous. This is not how you become the best country. Conversely, we do want to make sure that every kid, no matter what their background, has the opportunity for a great education. And we got to start that much sooner than the college admissions process.
I got one more hypocrisy alert for you, Kari, before we go. Joe Biden, he's all against, he's all about, listen, it's got to be fair for everyone. It's got to be good for everyone from the top, from the middle out, not the top down, middle out, bottom up, I think he calls it. Did you know that that Hunter Biden, his son, called Joe Biden, the dad, and had Joe call the University of Pennsylvania to get his own granddaughter, get Hunter Biden's daughter into the University of Pennsylvania? And if that's not the most hypocritical comment and idea out of this Biden family, I don't know what is. Final thought before we let you go, Kari.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, this whole family, I don't even call them the Bidens anymore. They're the Bribens, because all they do is take bribes and scratch backs. And the only back and they won't scratch are the backs of the American people who need help. They will take a payout from China. They'll take a payout from companies in Ukraine, energy companies, and the Ukrainian government, and they will sell us out every single chance they get. I half joke that maybe the American people need to pool some of their hard-earned money together to offer Joe Biden a bribe to secure the border. Maybe if we bribed Joe Biden, if we the people, he might help us make sure we get law and order on our streets, or maybe he will help stop the fentanyl crisis.
All right, we're going to leave it right there on that note. Kari Lake, really good having you. Appreciate your time. And happy independent from a tyrannical, overreaching government day to us. And hopefully we don't go back to where we came from. Learn from our mistakes.
Happy birthday to America.
Thank you,
Love
Kari.
it. Thank you, Eric.